With slide 10, we pick up the individual moderators again. The first concept under personal factors is primacy. Essentially, primacy refers to prior events that have occurred in our lives, which in turn set us up for future behavior. For instance, one thing that a good teacher will do in their first session is to give everyone a chance to speak. This serves as a way to break the ice, and it gives everyone permission to say something in the future. If a teacher doesn't do something like this, those who speak in the first session tend to be the ones who speak throughout the rest of the course, and those who are silent will tend to remain so. In the same way, a person's experiences in dealing with ambiguous issues, ethical issues, and for that matter, their experience in standing up or failing to stand up for what they believe to be right, and how they are treated and how they respond to the way that they are treated, will tend to impact their future in dealing with such matters. The next concept, ego strength, refers to how easily a person is influenced by others versus how firm they are able to take a stand and stick to it despite opposition. Generally, the high ego strength person will more likely behave consistently with their beliefs, their inclinations, their attitudes, etc., while the low ego strength person will more likely behave in a way that either pleases others or is highly influenced by others. The drawback of the high ego strength person is that they can find themselves believing in something despite the facts and evidence to the contrary. The problem with the low ego strength person is that you never quite know where they stand. I mean, they may take the stance they are taking right now because they want to, because they are being influenced by the desire to please someone they want to be friends with, or maybe it is based on just the most recent person they talk to. Field dependence and independence has to do with where you get your information. The field-dependent person relies on information outside themselves, from others, from what they read, from what they hear, what they see on the internet, what they see on TV. While the field-independent person relies more on their own store of knowledge, perhaps guided by intuition and experience. Locus of control has to do with your perception of where the control is coming from in your life. The internal locus of control person believes control is coming from within themselves. They are calling the shots in their life, while the external locus of control person sees forces, influences outside themselves as having power over the things, over how things turn out for them. The assumption is that the internal locus of control person will more likely take action to make things happen in a particular way, while the external locus of control person is more likely to let things happen, since they don't believe that they have much influence on the events or the outcome anyway. This difference in action and reaction apply to ethical dilemmas just as they do to any other part of the person's life. Okay, while there are many models describing moral development, I decided to stick with Kohlberg's model, which was part of the original model. I made a major change, however. It is no longer in a separate box, which situational moderators or individual moderators are able to influence. In slide 11, we will begin to examine Kohlberg's levels and stages of moral development in more detail. Slide 11 shows that there are 3 levels with 2 stages each in a person's development of moral reasoning. As you will note in level 1, pre-conventional, a person behaves follows the rules, etc., first in order to escape punishment. However, if there is no consequent punishment, or if the person figures that there is little likelihood of them getting caught, they are more likely to commit infractions of the rules or the laws. The next stage, stage 2, simply shows how some follow the rules in order to get rewards. Remove the rewards, and eventually they may not follow the rules anymore, or they may progress to stage 3. At stage 3, the first of the conventional level, being considered a good boy, a good girl, a good worker, a good spouse, or whatever, for following the rules is enough to reinforce the behavior. Stage 4 is following the rules for the rules' sake. It's the law, it's the rules, and that's enough to promote rule keeping by as the person behaves and goes through life. In the post-conventional level, stage 5, there is a sense that there is a social compact or contract between people. There are not necessarily any written rules, but there is a sense of justice, beneficence, doing right, doing good, that the person tries to achieve. Finally is stage 6, where the person is guided by broad principles, such as the Golden Rule, such as the Ten Commandments or whatever, and they do it just because it is right. They have their sense of what is right and what is wrong. There wouldn't even need to be a social contract of written rules. They would still think and behave in a way that endeavors to do the most good for the most people. I discuss some of these items in some more detail in the next session, but suffice it to say that not everyone develops over time to stage 6 or even to stage 5 for that matter. Most settle for what they need in order to get by, stages 3 or 4. Additionally, to show you how the differences between individuals can interact, take, for instance, a person with low ego strength and external locus of control who reasons at a stage 5. They likely will not be able to or willing to assert themselves to act on their beliefs when outside pressures urge a less than ethical response. Or how about the person who operates at a stage 2, but their supervisor operates at stage 5 reasoning? They may gain greater perspective and understanding from their supervisor's perspective, and may begin to think through ethical issues in a deeper way. Now, let's go to the next slide 12, where we go back to the individual moderators and finish out this section. Work factors come into play as well. The first is one's level of awareness and sense of relevance of that the individual has with their code of ethics, their their ethical principles. Do they see these things as important? Do they have just a very basic sense of honesty and integrity? Does the individual just simply see ethics as being a course they had to take in college, or do they see it as being a significant part of their personal conduct? And in the workplace, which does not promote a formal code of ethics, do they impose their own sense of honesty and integrity into their day-to-day working? Or do you just simply see, I got to get by and I got to go along to get along? Combining the remaining 2 parts in this section, the employee's identification with their work and with the organization, also plays a role. Does the person closely identify with their work and their profession or not? And do they feel their particular role, their job in the organization has meaning and purpose, or is it just a paycheck? Does the person identify with the organization as a place where important things are happening, or is it an organization that is no better or worse than the next one down the street? Finally, in the individual moderators, there is the factors outside of work. These are all of the personal, legal, financial, health, and other aspects of day-to-day life that while we'd like to think that they stay at home, they cannot help but have an impact on a person's life and their performance at work. These factors can act as distractions, so the employee is not paying attention at work. It may serve as a way that overwhelms them, overwhelms the employee, and the work just may become a haven, or it may become even a place where they act out their frustrations. One point to keep in mind is that each and every individual comes to ethical dilemmas somewhere along each of these different continuums, as noted above. When you throw like a high locus of control person, high ego strength person, together with people who are along any one of those continuums, you find that different things begin to happen. The work environment in dealing with ethical dilemmas really begins to become an interesting place to work. Now, we will begin to talk about organizational moderation.